Part of the crowd at The Rock, the North Carolina Motor Speedway at Rockingham, North Carolina, where the weather was not as cooperative as NASCAR would like for it to have been this past weekend for the Goodwrench 200 and Goodwrench 500.
And that this is a hard enough track to set up for without the complications of rain, and they call this track The Rock for good reason.
Appropriately named. We have a lot for you in this half hour of Inside Winston Cup Racing, and here's what's coming up.
It poured down rain early in the morning, and then it poured down mellow yellow here at the Goodwrench 500 for Kyle Petty in victory lane and his Sabco Racing team. He repeated here. We'll bring you all the action from the Goodwrench 500 here at The Rock.
Dale Earnhardt put his Chevrolet on the pole with a record-setting qualifying time for the Goodwrench 200. I'll have all the highlights of the BGN race from Rockingham. The Tide team has shown a lot of strength this season, muscling their way into second place in the point standings. We'll show you how Ricky Rudd is hoping to muscle his way to his first ever Winston Cup Points Championship.
Today's show is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer, where Leadership Month means a great time to buy. By Miller Genuine Draft, cold filtered for real draft taste. So get out of the old, get into the cold. By Goodyear, maker of the world's most successful tires, the Goodyear Eagles. And by Haviland, add more life to your car.
One car manufacturer has more NASCAR victories than anyone. Winning over 350 NASCAR races over 4 decades of racing. That car manufacturer is Ford. And that kind of winning performance goes beyond the winner's circle.
Davey Allison believes. Mario and Michael Andretti believe. Don Prudhomme believes. You get out of a car what you put into it.
All of these championship-winning drivers have one thing in common: Goodyear Racing Eagles. The race-winning technology that's found in the Goodyear Racing Eagles can also be found in the world's best-selling line of high-performance street tires, Goodyear Eagle Street Radials. The champions know, and it's why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
When this guy steps on it, you better hold on.
Looks like Rusty's back in town.
The Miller Genuine Draft Rusty Wallace stock car. It's tearing up tracks everywhere.
Ned, Kyle Petty and the Sabco Racing team really have this place figured out. Rockingham's a tough racetrack. It's a mile around. Now, last year, of course, he won the Goodwrench 500, had the field covered in October before he had a motor problem.
Well, I tell you, I don't know what it is, but they have got this place figured out, and it's not an easy track to get figured out either. Of course, they came back here this time and set a brand-new qualifying record and won his first Busch pole of 1991. For the highlights of the Goodwrench 500 and the other news, here's Randy Pemberton.
The crews played beat the clock all weekend long. First, during qualifying. Then, during practice. Terry Labonte tore his car up in the late session on Friday, took it home, and brought it back Saturday in good shape. But he would have to start at the tail end of the field for the 500. Rains flooded the Rockingham Raceway Sunday morning, but the cars were carried through pre-race tech despite it. The skies cleared up, and the cars took to their marks. Competition commenced only a half hour late. Well, the skies opened up. They got the command to start your engines, and everyone was going to be chasing Kyle Petty. Kyle Petty would have a chance to record a record earning here. Last year it was $294,000, including the Unical bonus. He was going to try that again this year. Kyle Petty racing from the pole.
Today's Winston Cup highlights are brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
After several laps circled under caution to complete the drying at the Rock, racing began. A field of 42 strong set out hoping to beat the weather. 41 of them hoping to beat the number 42 Pontiac of Kyle Petty. The Crown Prince put it to them with a race pace that left the competition bewildered, some fans a little bored, and some a lot bored. By lap 150, Petty had put all but 3 cars a lap or more down, giving up the lead only on scheduled gas stops. It would have gotten worse, but this wreck involving Harry Gant, Richard Petty, Dave Marcus, and Jeff Purvis gave a few drivers a glimmer of hope. Rusty Wallace was the one that seemed most likely to make a move to the top. Rusty ran KP down. Then for the first time all afternoon, Petty got kicked back to second as Rusty poured his Miller Beer Pontiac past the mellow yellow machine. Rusty raced out front for the next 46 circuits. It was during that span that both Bill Elliott and Davey Allison had wedge wrenches left in their cars, causing them to come back to the pits. Kyle came back to the lead and led laps 267 through 433 as cars began to fall by the wayside, including Rick Mast, who blew and brought out a caution. Ken Schrader, then a lap down, was on pit road at the time, replacing fuel and rubber that would enable him to go the distance. Petty was pushed high on the restart, and that forced him to play catch-up. He'd have to run even harder as Joe Ruttman's spin in turn 2 caught Petty pitting for tires, placing him a lap down. At the same time, Kenny Schrader blew past leader Wallace to make up a lap. Petty put himself back on the lead lap on the restart and had a big deficit to make up. Wallace pitted for fuel, giving the lead to Schrader. 30 laps from the end, Rusty's race car blew up, but it was the final caution for a spin by Harry Gant that erased Schrader's then 22nd advantage over Petty, the only other car on the lead lap. On the final restart, Petty pushed his Pontiac past Schrader's Chevy and into the lead for the final time. He led the next 13 laps, 380 laps en route to his second Goodwrench 500 win in a row. Kyle Petty picked up over $131,000 for the victory.
We had our strategy pretty much played out, and then when Schrader got lucky and caught that caution, then that blew everybody's strategy right out of the water because that put him in looking good. And then lo and behold, if it didn't happen, the same thing with us. We pitted on the lap and we got caught in the caution, but it put us behind. We needed one more caution to catch up and be able to beat Schrader, and we just got lucky today.
We need to take a short break. Still to come are highlights of the Goodwrench 200 Busch Grand National race from here at Rockingham.
And then we'll also take a look at how Ricky Rudd has really helped the performance of the Tide Racing program, and he's done it off the track. And as we go to the break, here's the rest of the finish order for the Goodwrench 500.
The year was 1957. Ike was in the White House, and America was enjoying itself. We swooned over Elvis and rocked around the clock. Fast food and fast cars were the new entertainment, and the 57 Chevrolet Bel Air became America's dream machine. Recognized as a classic, the 57 Chevy remains one of America's most sought-after cars. No automobile in history more perfectly represented the wild, carefree spirit of its time. And now, the Danbury Mint has recaptured that spirit in this meticulously engineered die-cast metal replica of the 1957 Chevy Bel Air convertible. Truly a legend you can hold in your hands, this exquisite replica is a masterpiece of craftsmanship. Its body, chassis, drivetrain, and engine block are all crafted in heavy die-cast metal. The body hand-sanded and painted, oven-baked, buffed, then painted and baked again. More than 150 parts are inspected, then hand-assembled. When completed, it's hand-waxed and inspected once more before delivery. Meticulous in every detail, doors open and close. The hood lifts, revealing its history-making 283 cubic inch V8. Why, even turn the steering wheel and the front wheels respond. perfect in every detail, from its golden grille and headlamp eyebrows to its sweeping tail fins and backup lights. From the undercarriage, more authentic detail, right down to the spare tire well. This extraordinary replica is available exclusively from the Danbury Mint and is not sold in stores, yet it is priced well below what you'd expect to pay for a replica of this superb quality. So use your credit card and call this toll-free number now. We'll send you your car and charge your account just $29.50 a month plus shipping for 3 months. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. Call now to bring back those precious memories with your replica of the '57 Chevy Bel Air convertible, the car that personifies that free spirit of the '50s.
Call now. The number is 1-800-767-1300. That's 1-800-767-1300.
Neither rain, beast, nor flyaway balloons keep folks away from the fair. Hosted by Mike Snyder.
Well, I moved that dish across the sky and I locked her down on West Star 5, and there sat a man with a beard and a funny hat.
I'm dreaming of you. With the Statler Brothers as special guests, you'll love Fairs and Festivals, Bluefield, West Virginia. Wednesday night, 8 Eastern on TNN.
Ned, to finish a race at a track like this one, much less run competitively, you have got to be in great physical condition. Last year, we profiled Mark Martin about what a serious commitment he's made to weightlifting and physical fitness. A lot of other drivers have taken note of that, and Ricky Rudd's one of them.
Well, the drivers know how much time the team members put into building those race cars and tweaking them to the nth degree so that they can go out and run competitively 400 or 500 miles. And so the drivers know the best thing that they can do is to get themselves in a similar type condition. Bill Weber has the story on Ricky Rudd.
The work is precise, the task demanding, the results rewarding. The Tide team is off to a strong start this season. Driver Ricky Rudd is second in the points race after 3 events, just 4 points behind Dale Earnhardt. The crew works hard at the shop and at the track to assure a solid ride for their driver. Rudd makes his contribution to the team by staying in shape. He follows a rigorous routine so he is able to maintain his strength and endurance for 500 miles on Sunday.
Started off, I felt like there's probably a need for it. I really thought more of the aerobic workout than anything, trying to build up your endurance, you know, on a hot summer day's race, and that's how I got started with it. But I think since then I've learned to enjoy it, and I found out that it really helps me in the race car a lot better than I thought it would originally. So that kind of feeds on itself, and I end up finding myself in the gym probably. I try to get at least 3 days a week of workout in. And Walter Smith, who also is our jack man on our crew, also owns the Knotless here, so he also takes time to personally train me, and that's been a big help. I wouldn't be able to do it on my own.
I work Ricky out where trying to get his total body fit. I don't neglect certain areas. Neck, for example, in Bristol, Dover racetracks, he's gotten to the point where he no longer finds it necessary to use a neck strap he was using throughout his career. He's able to loosen up on that, and we're working on getting him totally off of a neck strap. Just the fact that if you've ever been to one of these races and you see Ricky climb out of a race car at Talladega in July and then compare him to some of these other drivers, it's remarkable. Ricky comes up just full of energy, and whereas other drivers, they may be lying down or feeling sick, whatever the case may be. So Ricky is able to give our team 110% all the time, and that's really what the whole goal of this program is.
Well, I think it shows up on a real physical race, somewhere where there's not a lot of caution flags. I think a good example is probably Bristol, Tennessee, the last August race there at nighttime. I think we finished second or third there at that race, and I don't wear a cool suit in the race cars. And I got out of the race car and I made it to the shower room to go take a shower after the race, and I walked in the locker room. I was stepping over bodies to get into the shower stall. And I said, "What? You know, something's not right here. I've got all this energy, and these guys are laid out on the floor." But I think it comes from the hard work of the workout that I put in probably 2 or 3 days a week.
We shot Ricky's workout about 2 months ago during the off-season. And last week at Rockingham, I asked him how he has benefited from his workouts in 1991.
You're able to be more aggressive in a race because physically you're a lot stronger. After the race, you're not wore out. It used to take me the next day after the race. It's like recovering from the flu. Next day now, I'm up on a Monday morning. A lot of time I'm at the gym working out on a Monday morning, which is something that I never would have thought of 2 or 3 years ago.
Does it make you a better race car driver?
Well, I think yeah, I think the bottom line is yes. And maybe it doesn't show up until you get 3/4 of the way through a race, and it doesn't necessarily show up in every race. I run for years and have run well without conditioning program, simply because the race tracks themselves will build you up.
Rub definitely has the discipline and desire, but his biggest hurdle is travel. However, while he's on the road, Ricky manages to find some time to work in his workout.
Well, I'm probably not as dedicated as someone like a Mark Martin. I average 2 to 3 days a week when I'm traveling, and like I said, I think you can go overboard with a program also, but I think 2 to 3 times a week works out pretty good for me.
Time for another short break. Still to come are highlights of the Goodwrench 200 Busch Grand National Race and the Mailbox.
And in this week's edition of Track Talk, we learn a little bit about the important job that the safety crews have at every Winston Cup track.
This edition of Track Talk is brought to you by Haviland. Add more life to your car.
Winston Cup crews and officials go to extremes to ensure driver safety. Rescue teams are brought in and trained to make split-second decisions should an emergency arise. And if one does, these crews are always ready.
Each race week and on each race day, we have safety meetings to review the procedures and to go over the things that we're asking them to do, and to make sure that there's no unclear matters that they might be subjected to. So we try to answer a lot of things, and over a period of time, you develop strength of good, active safety people.
They're ready, and we provide them some of the equipment that they use, and we just go over so everybody's going in the same direction. It helps us, and then we all cover what's going on, so we're all going in the same direction of what we're trying to accomplish.
The safety crews have a great marriage with the Winston Cup officials, and to them, the job is extremely satisfying.
We work with them. They got up in the tower. They're our main control. They're our eyes, and we control with through radio communications. There's each driver that has access to the track has a radio, and they tell us when to move and when not to move. We enjoy. That's our jobs. Most of us are fire and rescue personnel, either volunteer or paid, and we have people coming from as far as 100 miles away just to come in and be able to work at the track.
Davey Allison believes. Mario and Michael Andretti believe. Don Prudhomme believes. You get out of a car what you put into it.
Yeah. Where can you go on Goodyear Wrangler radials? So where can you go on Goodyear Wrangler radials? Just about anywhere you want. Put on a set of Goodyear Wrangler radials, and you'll know why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
Cold filtered, Miller Genuine Draft. For those who've discovered its real draft taste, the world is a very cool place.
I love steak. I mean a big porterhouse.
Delay.
I like it very nicely medium.
Rare.
The sound is like... Wait. It's not done. Now.
It's been done.
Done.
A1.
It's how steak is done.
Hello, I'm Lori Ann Crook.
I'm Charlie Chase. This week on Crook and Chase, Rodney Crowell joins us live.
And Glenn Campbell is caught in our celebrity spotlight. It's all this week.
Crook and Chase, weeknights on TNN.
Next week on IWCR, the Winston Cup Series gets a breather, but the Busch Grand National action gets hot and heavy. We'll have all the highlights of the Miller 200 BGN event in Martinsville, Virginia. Rain played havoc prior to the Goodwrench 500 and nearly postponed the event. We'll show you what happens at the track when Mother Nature is less than cooperative.
There was good reason for the Bodine family to be excited here at Rockingham. But it wasn't Jeff or Brett. It was Ty that was running well in the Goodwrench 200. I'll have that story next week on Inside Winston Cup Racing.
A familiar number on the leaderboard prior to the Busch Grand National race, the Goodwrench 200 here in Rockingham, net Dale Earnhardt on the pole. And that's indicative of the fact that every time we have a companion race, there's always a bunch of Winston Cup drivers trying to make an extra paycheck, but it makes the field a very competitive one.
Oh, it does. Super competitive, no question about it. And the Busch Grand National drivers on a 1 mile track can pretty well hold their own with the Winston Cup drivers. Now, they were running radial tires on the Busch Grand National cars here for the first time, and they had a sprinkling, of course, of the Hoosier tires in the field, too. Interesting race. Bill Weber has the highlights.
Dale Earnhardt started on the pole thanks to his record-setting qualifying run. A couple of early cautions kept the field bunched up. Jack Ingram's day ended on lap 4, and Bobby Hillen was finished on lap 9, both with a blown engine. Earnhardt looked strong and swift, setting the early pace with Harry Gant, Ernie Irvin, and Dale Jarrett in tow. Earnhardt led the first 48 laps before his setup soured and the car strayed from the groove. Gant swept past the 3 on lap 49. Bobby Labonte might have had the best ride in the field. He zoomed from 27th to 1st, passing Gant for the 3rd lead change of the race on lap 90. Labonte led 6 laps, moving around and literally through traffic. Green flag pit stops shuffled the leaders and nearly cost Jarrett a shot at the win. He was held for too many men over the wall. On lap 108, Gant again assumed the point, with Labonte and Earnhardt right behind. On lap 123, Labonte got by Gant in turn 2 and led the next 54 laps. Jeff Gordon spun on lap 133 but made a great save. He started 4th but finished 24th. In the closing laps, Labonte, Gant, Jarrett, and Kenny Wallace were the top contenders. Gant faded with a weak motor, and after a late race caution tightened the field, Jarrett darted by Labonte with 10 laps left. Bobby charged hard and lost the car and a chance at the win when he spun leaving turn 2 on lap 194. 2 laps later on the restart, Jarrett took the green and white flags and held off Wallace for the win.
The Nestle Crunch Pontiac performed well all day, and things just kind of went our way. I didn't think it was at one point when we made our pit stop. They said we had too many men over the wall, and I think it was kind of a close call there, and they held us 15 seconds and put me back, but things worked out. I knew we had a good car. I just had to be patient and not use up the tires. I knew I had to have something left for the end, and thank goodness I'd saved just enough.
Today's Mailbox is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft.
Steve, our question today comes from Richie Allen of Kirkville, New York, who writes, on a road racing course, what is meant when they say a driver outbraked another?
Well, for the answer to that question, we'll go to a guy who's one of the best, if not the best, road course drivers on the Winston Cup circuit, Ricky Rudd.
Well, Richie, that's a good question. It's a pretty simple maneuver. All it means is that everyone's trying to get to the corner first, and that's the only way you really pick up positions on road racing is to outbrake the other competitor. So basically the maneuver is just simply you just try to get down a little bit deeper in the corner before you apply the brakes. If you can do that, at the same time you're trying to outbrake them, you have to take the inside line away from that driver. So if you can outbrake them, take the inside line. That's the way you advance on the road course.
If your question is used on the air, you'll receive a free IWCR cap and T-shirt from the new Pit Shop brochure, featuring top-quality racing clothing, jewelry, and home video cassettes. If you'd like to receive a copy of the Pit Shop brochure, join the IWCR Sports Club. Or to place an order, call 1-800-692-7777. Remember, Sports Club members receive a full 10% discount on all Pit Shop purchases.
Well, our time's up for today. Hope you enjoyed the show. You be sure to be with us here next week.
And thanks for watching here on TNN. We'll see you then.
Today's show has been brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer, where Leadership Month means a great time to buy. By Miller Genuine Draft, cold filtered for real draft taste. So get out of the old, get into the cold. By Goodyear, maker of the world's most successful tires, the Goodyear Eagles. And by Haviland, add more life to your car. Communications for Inside Winston Cup Racing Crew provided by Racing Radios, Forest Park, Georgia, the official communications of NASCAR. Transportation for Inside Winston Cup Racing provided by Fleetwood Enterprises, makers of a full line of excellent recreational vehicles. And by your Carolina Ford dealers. Nobody outsells Ford in the Carolinas.
This is TNN, the Nashville Network, the #1 source for country music, entertainment, and information.
The 34 Classic Street Rod. It's hot, available, very affordable, fun to drive, easy to assemble. Call 1-800-CLASSIC. For more information on this special offering of the 34 Classic Street Rod and other timeless classics from Classic Motor Carriages. Call now, 1-800-CLASSIC. The power and grace of a thoroughbred. The Classic Speedster. The exhilaration and speed of the Classic Speedster C. Build your dream today. Own a Classic Speedster at an amazingly affordable price. Call 1-800-CLASSIC. For more information on this special offering of the Classic Speedsters and other timeless classics from Classic Motor Carriages, call now 1-800-CLASSIC.
Foster and Lloyd star on stage Monday.